Okay, we installed our aileron servo, and for this particular build I'm using a 9-gram Power HD. That's got plenty of torque for your ailerons. You will have to trim slightly around to enlarge the servo opening for the aileron, as well as on the lower fuselage. DSM 44s will fit in there fine. I'm just choosing to go with the 9-gram and a couple 6 grams for the elevator and rudder. I've already let the glue tack up a little on the upper vertical fuse. Don't want to forget the part by the tail. You want to slide this from behind, line it up. Line up your slats. This is just to keep the tail supported a little bit above the work surface so that there's not pressure on it. Make sure everything's lined up well, and then press fit by hand. Make sure you got a good tight joint between the entire fuse. Give it a quick look, make sure everything's straight, and set aside and let it tack up for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll proceed to the rest of the build. Okay, let this set up for a while. Should be cured pretty good. If you notice, I mounted my servo reverse of what the instructions call for. That's just personal preference, and I trimmed it out slightly. You may have to trim this area depending on the servo you use. While it was setting up, let's see if you can see that, I installed the aileron control horns. I left the one out on the rudder so I could show you. You should find a slice in here, and if you slightly bend, I don't know if the camera can pick that up. If you bend it slightly, it's right here. There's a slice. You'll just take your welders. Just try to get a little bit in there and a little bit on the outside. Take out your control horn. I'm going to put the other one in. It's got to be right here somewhere. Oh, there they go. Just add a little bit on these pins. Find the slice, slide that in, work it back and forth, make sure that glue smears in there real good, gets a nice good surface area. You want to make sure it's adjusted so that your Z-bend, where that connects, is going to be centered on the hinge line. It's not a deal breaker if it's slightly off, but you do want to try and get that centered. Okay, I've had some time and I've been thinking about it. I am going to install the plywood motor mount piece and the reinforcement pieces, and there goes my heater. It's going to make a lot of racket. Since everything's set up, I put a little dot dot on here. I don't know if you can see that. And that's just to help align the motor disc. I decided I'll use it since I'll probably try various power setups, and it'll make it easier to swap out motors. But if you do want a lighter build, you can just mount the outrunner with some welders directly to it. On the outrunner disc, I also enlarged the hole for it. Some outrunners will have an E-clip in the rear, especially if they got a metal mount and you don't want that to rub. But if you use one of the suggested outrunners, which is a Power HD 2613, you can see you got plenty of clearance for that. I don't know if it comes out on the camera. So take your ply disc, center it with the center dot mark you made, and you're good to go. Now we'll take the pie pieces and we'll just add a little glue and add each one of them, and that'll make the nose really nice and strong, help keep flex from twisting it. And since we went all the way around on the motor disc, there's already glue on this side, so we'll just press fit this in. And we'll do that for each one. Okay, we've let the motor mount disc and the reinforcement foam pieces dry for quite some time. I installed the motor, and I also installed the servos, the servo horn. You'll want to cut to the size of servo you're using. I'm using Power HD 1600 6-gram servos and the 9-gram for the ailerons. I also installed the control horns. It's a fairly simple step. You'll have some slots cut here, and you'll just squeeze some welders in there. And there's barbs on these control horns. Just pierce that into your tube of welders like you do to install your carbon truss work. I've got all my control surfaces pinned, and there goes the heater again, it's going to make some noise. Pinned in a neutral position. That'll make adjustment of the control rods a lot easier. Okay, the first one I'm going to do is the aileron. Put a little CA on here. Everybody does this different, whatever method works best for you. Just get a nice healthy amount on there. If you're using a foam safe or a slow activated CA, get your kicker ready. Use a piece of cardboard to protect the foam. Just make sure you've got a good even amount of carbon on each Z-bend. And there is a heater making noise. Apply a healthy amount on the carbon rod, about the same length as the Z-bend where it'll contact. You can also heat shrink this first, and then the Z-bend material that sticks through, and just glue it there. If you're using a lighter instead of a heat source, like a heat gun or something, try and keep the flame low. You don't want to burn up the foam. Just have to make sure you're not getting any binding in the Z-bends, and they're not twisted too much and causing any binding in the control arms or the servo arm. That's pretty much all there is for that. Just about out of kits. But you get the idea. Make sure prior to doing this all your servos are centered. I already bound a receiver to this plane and named it, powered it up, made sure the rotation of the motor was the correct way, reversed whatever servos needed reversing to work in the proper direction.